Welcome to this week's Ask Charlie. I'm in one of my favourite spots in what I call my secret garden. It's the original front of the house and I just love it out here. The children don't tend to come and play in this area too much, which is probably why I love it so much. I get to have a little bit of peace and quiet. I wasn't always into gardening. I probably took it up about 6 years ago, I think. I always wanted the garden to look beautiful, and then suddenly I realised that actually I was the only person that was going to make it look beautiful, so I needed to spend time and learn about the plants, learn about the way I wanted things to look, and that's really where my love for gardening came from. My mother was an incredible gardener. The gardens were just amazing at home. In the summer they were open to the public and she'd have green tea afternoons for the village and locals to come and enjoy her beautiful garden. But actually I didn't get into it as a child. I got into it much later on in life, and I find it so therapeutic being out here and just loving watching how things are evolving. I think you're always learning with a garden. There are always things that you need to learn about. It's a bit windy today, sorry about that. But you know, it's trial and error with these things, and I think you just have to have the confidence to give it a go. Read books and learn. I love watching A Gardener's World. I've learned so much. I'm a big fan of Monty Don, and just looking at the plants that you like, the things that you want to work with. I particularly love growing things that I can either eat or use in flower arrangements, and that's really where kind of the inspiration for my garden has come from. So let's go and have a look round, and I hope you enjoy it. So this is the front of the house and the area that I call my secret garden. I do get to sit on the benches quite frequently, but I rarely get to lie on the sun lounges. We changed the porch on the front of the house, and we also grew the wisteria up. When we bought the house, there was no plants at all on the front of the house, and I think it looked really stark and really bare. So actually putting the wisteria has just added, I think, a layer of coziness to a building. It becomes from a house into a home, I believe, and I just love having the wisteria. It's so beautiful and it's pretty low maintenance. It just needs a good prune twice a year, in the summer and in the winter. August is one of the times of year where you need to prune back your wisteria twice a year, in the winter and then in August. So I'm just getting one of these offshoots and taking it back to about 5 buds from the mainstay and just doing the same process all the way around, untangling it and trying to get it back under control, because this has got completely out of control. That's a really bad, isn't it? These are the 2 rose beds that I talk about often. I planted them in memory of Mum after she died, and I'm hoping, I've deadheaded, I'm hoping that there'll be a second flush of roses out here. And then the children spend a lot of time playing on the lawn here, on the climbing frame. We've got the summer house there, and I've got a little bed to the side of the summer house, which again, the roses have gone over at the moment, but they add some colour. And I have an abundance of foxgloves in the early summer, which I really, really love. And yes, there's a football goal, so things up here tend to get a little bit battered. I've got an empty cutting bed, so I have my tulips in here and various other things, but actually I've cut all the flowers and I will plant some bulbs in the autumn for next year. And then I've got this bed in the corner here. It needs a little bit of work. The 2 shrubs on either side need to be replaced, which I will do in the autumn. And then this gate leads through into the greenhouse area, and the children have got a trampoline as well. Onto the little lane, I've got lots of roses growing up on the wall. And then this is Billy, our tortoise's area. So he's out here when he's not in hibernation. And here is Billy. He's a Greek spur-thighed tortoise, and I'm guessing he's about 15 or 16 now. There is always a job to do in the garden. I've got little Penny here with me. She's my helper today. So I'm going to be tackling the box. I'm no expert with it at all, but it's something that needs to be done once a year. So this new growth just needs to be trimmed off. So Penny hopefully is going to be very helpful, and we're going to get going with this. They say with box that you shouldn't trim it before Derby Day, which is normally the beginning of June here in the UK. It's a big famous horse race. And so any time after Derby Day apparently is the time to trim your box. As long as I do it at some point over the summer, I think that is absolutely fine. You don't need very much for this job. I'm just using these, they're nice and sharp, and just going to start working my way around, trying to keep the shape as much as possible, but I am no expert, so I'm just going to give it a go. So I've done this side, and now to tackle this one, and you can see the difference. It really is worth doing. I mean, I'm no expert, but just try and keep the line straight, keep stepping back, keep looking at where you've cut, and just take it slowly. We are done, slightly back breaking, and now it's time to clear up and sweep up all these cuttings and sort them out. Yeah, it's a good job done. These are my favourite pelargoniums. They are attar of roses. The scent is just heavenly, and I love having them by the front door. And when I get in, I just get a whiff of this wonderful fragrance. And I think it's really important in your garden to have things that bring you joy. There's Penny and Billy. He never wants to miss out on the action, bless him. The children have the trampoline just here, and I can actually see them from the kitchen, which works really well. The grass has got rather wild out here. I often let a pony graze in this area. I really like to have designated cutting beds, so I know that actually I can cut the flowers as much as I want for arranging and enjoying in the house. This rose was given to me for Mother's Day one year, and it's gone slightly wild. I need to spend some time sorting it out. I've got my tomatoes growing in my greenhouse. They're coming on really nicely, and up at the end I've got a few little courgettes just there. To the side of my greenhouse I've got this bed, which again is for cutting flowers. This is sedum, which I just adore. I even love it this time of year before it goes quite a dark, deep red. And I just love this colour, and this stage is wonderful for flower arranging. I haven't got much in here now. A few cornflowers, the last of them, and then up behind the stables my rhubarb, and this is my new asparagus bed, which I'm very excited about. I've got to wait a couple of years before we can actually enjoy it, but it'll be worth the wait, I'm sure. And through the orchard gate, Sadly, the fox got the chickens while we were down in Devon, so no chickens free ranging in here at the moment. But this area was a total scrubland when we bought the house. It wasn't being used for anything, it was just horrid. And so we fenced it off. I've got some elderflowers growing there. The children's treehouse is up here in the orchard and they've spent so many hours playing in here. There's a zip wire that whizzes down to that tree at the end and they've had so much fun. We planted these fruit trees when we put the orchard in and they're coming on nicely. It's wonderful seeing them growing. And then my kitchen garden is here. Our washing line is tucked around the corner here. We don't have a long one, which I would love, but actually this rotary one works really, really well. We've cemented the bottom so it can slide in that. So we've cemented a tube. My peg bag, which is something that I made on the sewing course, I don't leave outside because if it rains it's just going to ruin. So make sure you always take your peg bag inside with you. I'm just going to hang it up there. I actually use these plastic pegs. These ones are from Lakeland and these are minky ones. And I find they don't leave a mark on the clothes. So if you can get away with not ironing, using these is definitely a plus. The wooden ones, you do definitely have a peg mark. So I'm going to hang out this load of bed linen, and it wasn't folded before it went in the washing machine. That is my top tip, but these ones just went in screwed up, but that will be fine. So just place it over there and I put it about halfway. I tend not to peg things at the end. I think it's just habit. Using a rotary, you need to think carefully about the sizes of things, and you know, so the bigger sheets will come on the end and the pillowcases and smaller items go on the shorter lengths. Another really important thing to remember is to frequently wipe down your washing line. There's nothing worse than hanging out a load of washing and taking it in and realizing that your washing line was dirty. So that is something really important to remember to do once a week. Give your washing line a good wipe down. So with my fitted sheets, I've got this one inside, out and into that corner, and then I always hang my fitted sheets out like this on the line, and it saves ironing. Make sure you give things a really good shake and a really good pull as well. It's important to get as many of those creases out as you can. When choosing where to have your washing line in your garden, try and choose a spot where it's out of sight. So you probably don't want to have your washing line in the front garden for everybody walking past to see. Ours is neatly tucked away here. You can see it when you drive in, you know, if you're looking up towards the stables, but it's out of sight from the main part of the garden. I don't want to be sitting out in the garden looking at our washing drying. So just give it a little bit of thought where you put your line. Another top tip is don't leave your washing out for too long. If it's dry and you're at home, bring it in, because the longer it's left out on the line, you might get flies that come and sit on it and leave a mark. So as soon as it's dry, take it in. And don't leave your washing out too late in the evening as well. We get a lot of dew here in the UK and then it gets damp. So, you know, come sort of 6 o'clock this time of year, so I'm filming this in August, I would start to get my washing in. Obviously in June and July you can leave it out slightly longer, but as the days draw in, make sure you get your washing in before it starts to get slightly damp again. I've got a lot of washing to put on my line today, so you could leave your duvets not folded, but I'm going to fold this in half because I've actually got 4 loads that need to come on this line today. And again, just make sure you give it all a good pull and a good shake. You'll probably notice while I'm hanging out certain items of washing that I'm pegging them maybe in slightly odd places. But I like to put t-shirts under the armpit because then you don't need to iron them. Shirts, so I've got actually one of Coco's riding shirts. I've hung it from the seams, the bottom seams, upside down, and I just find they actually dry really well there. And again, if that probably can just have a moment in the tumble dryer. It doesn't need necessarily a proper iron, and again you don't notice the peg marks because they're tucked in. So there is method in my madness as I'm hanging things out, working out, and particularly with t-shirts too, if you hang them from the bottom it can stretch them as they blow in the wind. You can get your t-shirts sort of slightly stretched out of shape, which is irritating. So I always go for under the armpits for things like that. I love the different areas that we've got in our garden. I like to think of them as rooms. We've got the more formal area at the front of the house, my secret garden. I've got a little penny here if you wonder who I'm stroking. It's you. And then the children can be, wild and free here. It doesn't matter if things get battered and bashed around. They will. I would be slightly upset if they were playing a football match or something round there, but here they can do whatever they want. And then when we go through up to around the stables, again the grass is a bit longer, and in the orchard I like to have the grass quite long and wildflowers, and just it's a different feeling. It's much sort of looser and natural and more wild, and I think that's really what's lovely about creating a garden, is you can create these different feelings in different areas. I love how our home and garden work together. So we've got lots of sets of doors that open up onto the garden, and the garden can become part of our home as well. And I think that's really, really wonderful, and I think it helps the children appreciate nature and the beauty of it. I really hope you've enjoyed having a look around my garden with me. I've enjoyed sharing it with you. Please remember to give the video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it, and leave me a comment too. It's really important because it helps other people find out about my channel. So please do leave me a comment, and I will see you again next week. Wishing you lots of love and a very, very happy weekend.